Hello and welcome to another full and frothy pint of Bloke in a Pub. Now if you recall, last time we talked about what advice would I give to my younger self, and obviously it was sage advice. So this time what I want to talk about is what kind of financial planning would I actually do for my younger self? What could I do if I was going to do it now? One of the ideas we might consider is funding an ISA, an individual savings account. And you can put up to £20,000 a year into one of these. You can fund up to £3,600 without any proof of income for anyone. The reason I wouldn't do that is that when my younger self becomes 18, if it was anything like my younger self, they become entitled absolutely to that money. That means it's theirs to do with as they wish. And when I was 18, as soon as my parents went away, I would have an absolutely amazing party and none of that money would be left. So if we had issues over spendthriftery, as it's called, I probably wouldn't do that. What I might consider instead is funding a pension. They can't access the money till they're 55, so it has a long time to benefit from compound interest. So if I started the pension really early, so when they were in the first few years of life with modest contributions, the effect of compounding will lead to a much bigger fund later on, and they won't be able to access it until they're much older and wiser than even I am now. Another thing to consider is that hopefully my younger self would aspire to tertiary education, go off to university, and possibly be faced with paying fees and have to consider a student loan. So we have the question of, would I pay their student loan? I think personally the answer to that at the moment would be no, because when I compare interest rates with the kind of return I could get from equities, stocks and shares, invested through that pension I just discussed, I'm more likely to get a much better return from the pension than I am from paying off that interest. So I probably wouldn't do that. Also, it doesn't do them any harm to carry a student debt and actually learn to control their finances a little bit better. What I'd also consider is I would consider taking out a whole of life insurance on myself. So this is a life insurance that will run as long as I do. When my younger self reaches a responsible age, maybe 25, something like that, I would then suggest to them that they start funding it. And the reason for this is if you actually look at how much you invest in these things by way of a premium and how long you actually have to live just to get your money back, I'd have to live to well over 120 just to break even. Now, with the best will in the world, it's unlikely I'm going to. So let's say I live to 100, optimistically, then there's at least 20 years worth of benefit here, probably much more. So a whole of life insurance makes a great deal of sense for a big chunk of money that will pay out to them tax-free at some point in the future and represents a good investment. Obviously, I'd wait until they were a little bit older and more responsible, because if I told my younger self that I had a very big life insurance on my life, I'd probably be checking the brakes on my car on a regular basis just to make sure that they worked. So 3 little ideas on what I could do to benefit my younger self that possibly you could use to benefit your younger self or your children.